Hey guys, it's me, baaase here, and I am back with yet another episode of Love, Money und Rock'n'Roll. And last time, we had more investigation into our past. I guess that's what we're on a lot now. Stuff is going down. It is going down. Actually, we didn't have a lot. Investigation was basically just look back. We remembered how we met and got into a relationship with Catherine and how Himitsu was feeling about it and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's good. Let's keep on going. People say you should love her yourself. Guess it's not that simple or obvious to everyone, but I'm confident that everyone can hate themselves. The only requirement is to drink a life-threatening amount of something combustible. Yeah, alcohol. I woke up and lay in bed for some time, staring at the ceiling, struggling to understand who and where I was. I couldn't even recall how I got home yesterday, or to be more precise, this morning. My last memory was that of the conversation with Ed. That seemed to be after midnight. What time was it when I woke up? The hour hand pointed straight at the Roman numeral I. So I'd slept for almost 12 hours? Then why did I feel like shit? Although it was equally possible that I've gotten home way later than I thought. A headache and nausea wouldn't let me stay in bed, but as soon as I stood up, the whole world shifted under my feet, forcing me to lie down again. I grazed my leg against the table, knocking a piece of paper off of it.
Nickelcom, you kept drink like this. I found you in the hallway this morning and just barely dragged you to your bed. I'll drop by after school. I'm sure you won't be able to go anywhere. But even if you intend to, don't even think about it.
It was written in Russian, in Himitsu's beautiful, neat handwriting. For once I completely agree with her. Moreover, I was going to insist on reinstituting prohibition. Very nice idea, my friend. Half an hour in the bathroom somewhat brought me to my senses. Not really, though. I'd barely regained the ability to move more or less steadily without every motion causing my head to ache. There was zukemono on the table. Zukemono? What is that? Zukemono. Let me see what zukemono is. Zukemono. I can't click on it, right? Nope. Zukemono is oh. Okay. Is it Japanese pickled vegetables that's getting eaten with rice, but often as a snack for drinking. Okay. I know now. No, pickle juice. Sure. No pickle juice, sure, but anything I wouldn't immediately vomit back out was good for me, and I managed to eat them without much difficulty. I felt much better after restoring the balance of electrolytes in my body, even if not for long. Well, now, being sober, I realized that yesterday I'd been drinking way more than that Ed guy. While he was nursing a single beer, I would finish a couple glasses of whiskey, maybe a few shots of tequila on top of that. I was accelerating as if late for my train to hell. Ed, what an interesting guy. His words made me think about a number of things. Their true meaning was only coming through now. Of course, he didn't really say anything new, just described my condition in brief, with a few accurate and hard-hitting statements. However, even that can be enough sometimes. The facts themselves don't change, but their interpretation does. Objective and subjective levels of existence, the struggle between perception and reality. The loud ring on the doorbell pierced my brain like lightning. My headache returned at once. Who the hell's there? Who is it? I said quite loudly and opened the door. Catherine was standing at the doorstep. Wait, what? What a surprise. I was genuinely surprised. Genuinely surprised. Is this a bad time? As you can see, it is. While in the bathroom, I had looked at myself in the mirror and harbored no doubt that my condition was self-evident. Not that Catherine was surprised in the first place. Looking at her, I recalled Ed's words about dependency. After all, the girl standing before me wasn't the same as 2 years ago, and she definitely wasn't the image from my dreams. Frankly speaking, I wasn't completely sure whether I loved this Catherine. At least, whether I loved her as strongly as before. Didn't bring any gifts. I grinned, letting her pass to the kitchen. I wouldn't refuse a can of beer.
I have something important to discuss.
He ignored my words and sat down with legs crossed. I'm listening. He wouldn't have come to my place without a reason anyway. It was clear we were going to talk about something of critical importance.
I've talked to my mom about everything. About that phone call, you and your parents. I didn't want to explain anything for a while, but I insisted to cut a long story short. You don't need to worry about anything anymore.
Could you not cut the long story? As this doesn't sound very convincing, to be honest.
It used to be indirectly related to your parents' work. You know they worked on an important project, right?
I nodded, even though I hadn't known about it until a few days ago.
It turned out that things weren't going smoothly, and
Catherine weren't silent, frowned and looked away.
Nick, I've known it may come as a shock to you. They were suspected of being Russian spies.
What? My lips stretched into an idiotic smile. Even if that were the case, was that a reason to kill them? Now it was Catherine's turn to be surprised.
Kill? No, it was an accident. It was just that some questions related to their work have been raised recently. Mom told me about it.
And you believed her? Naturally? I sighed. Now I definitely need some beer.
Why shouldn't I believe her?
Indeed, if I took only the facts into account, her mother's story matched up pretty well with the Ichinos's. Except that they had different narratives. He was blaming the corporation for everything that had happened, while Catherine's mother was trying to cover this accident up by making culprits out of the Soviet engineers.
You don't believe me?
You said as a statement, not a question. I do, or to be more precise, I believe that you believe it. But I have no reason to believe your mother because was I supposed to tell her about my conversation with Ichinose? There was a little chance it would put her at risk, but still, I didn't want to take the chance. Think for yourself. What would you do in my place?
I don't know, but I'm sure my mom could never do anything like that.
Like what? Strictly speaking, I never accused her mother of being personally involved in my parents' steps. Was she involved indirectly? That was a possible ability. Was she involved in the project? No doubt. But it was obvious that she hadn't been the one on the issue to issue the order. Anyway, I'm grateful that you came and told me everything.
How couldn't I?
Catherine asked, surprised. Oh, I'm sure you know enough ways how couldn't.
Do you still take me for the devil incarnate?
Why is she blushing a little? I don't know. I didn't know if it was the hangover or if it was some veil of Katya's divinity had been lifted from my perception, but I felt much more comfortable around her. Most likely because she was just behaving normally, trying to maintain some minimal level of courtesy. I just don't have any reason to trust your mother, but I understand you and don't blame you.
Of course you don't.
Why not?
I agree that the situation is complicated, but if you think about it, my mother didn't say anything objectionable. Of course, if you want to pick apart the wording.
Yeah, I'm used to not doing that with you. I jabbed, but Catherine seemed to pay no attention to it. What do his parents have to do with all this? They're long dead. Why should we do this? If you're so interested in him, handle it by yourselves. You call that nothing objectionable? I am remembering her words correctly, right?
They were connected through work somehow. I already told you.
On the other hand, if I disregarded how I was personally involved here, there was some logic to it. I could easily imagine a situation where Miss Winters had nothing to do with all this. But I absolutely did not want to believe that. And with good reason. Fine, I got you, I said dryly. Whatever the case, arguing with Catherine wouldn't be of any help to either of us.
I'm glad.
Not that she looked particularly satisfied. For a moment, I even had a thought that Katya was displeased by the fact that I was speaking to her so coldly with no mention of love till death do us apart. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Stood up, smoothed out her skirt, cast an appraising glance over the kitchen and bid me farewell.
Enjoy your hangover.
After seeing her out, I felt proud of how much resilience I'd shown. Thank you, Ed. Still, it took me some time to fully digest our conversation. Wait. Have Ed been... other... now I'm thinking that everyone's agents. I don't know. This game is making me paranoid, but only... no, not paranoid, because it's making me question everyone in this game. Yeah, that's probably paranoid. No, because I'm not scared. I'm just like, what is the story? What's going on? I don't know, maybe. I don't care. I don't work here. The clock read 4, but Himitsu still hadn't come. Logically, she should have rushed to my place right after school. I guess I even wanted that. That marathon yesterday managed to fulfill its objective. It blunted my sense of guilt, and I could look her in the eye with relative ease. Why not take the initiative then? A minute later, I was enthusiastically ringing the doorbell of Himitsu's house. However, her father answered the door instead of her. Nikolai. Nikolai. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Runosuke-san. Runosuke-san. Is Himitsu home? You want to do some homework or some shopping? Oh, then I'll drop by later. It's fine. Come in. You can wait here. She'll be back. Sorry to bother you. I used the standard Japanese form of politeness. Perhaps that wasn't my habit, but Ryunosuke-san commanded respect by appearance alone. A tall, especially for a Japanese, always serious and even somehow overly collected man. He didn't waste time on idle gossip, and I couldn't recall ever seeing him smile. How are you doing, Nikolai? Mitsu's father asked in the same tone. I wondered if he noticed my obviously poor condition. I really hoped he didn't. I'm doing alright, and you? He looked at me closely. Was it an inappropriate question? I'm fine. I heard your mutual friend has returned to Japan. Catherine, right? Yes. Himitsu definitely shouldn't have told that to her father. Who needed that? I see. The awkward pause dragged on. Ryunosuke-san was just sitting on the sofa and keeping his eyes fixed on me, which was frankly making me feel uncomfortable. Finally the front door opened, and I could hear steps coming from the hall.
I'm home.
Himitsu appeared in the living room with bags in her hands.
Nikko-kun,
She exclaimed, but having noticed her father, caught herself.
so glad you came. Wait, I won't be long.
He rushed to the kitchen to unload the bags. I won't bother you. Wait, did he just... He wasn't smiling like that before, was he? I don't know. He bid his farewell at least. I nodded, trying not to be too courteous this time. When the door closed behind him, Himitsu virtually assaulted me.
Nikko-kun, would you deign to explain what that was yesterday?
That's what I'm here for. I relaxed into the armchair and smiled. He clearly hadn't expected this kind of reply.
Well, that's good, of course, but...
I just couldn't handle the stress. I needed to relax.
Do you think drinking yourself into oblivion is a good way to relax?
Whatever works.
Do not relax so much you won't be able to tense up again.
She said in a grim voice and returned to the kitchen.
We're going to have dinner soon.
I didn't want to and couldn't eat at all. There was no option to refuse the invitation either. Nah, she just demanded it. So how could I say no?
When were you at school last time? Do you even remember?
Well, on Tuesday.
Tuesday?
She grumbled and put her chopsticks away. That was a signal that I didn't have to force myself anymore. Morning pickles were more than enough for me.
Nikko-kun, this is no joke.
Nobody's laughing. No, like in the joke, when I wanted to become a comic, everyone was laughing at me. But guess what? And now I am one, and nobody's laughing anymore. Himitsu sighed and shook her head. It's just that I feel like I'm not myself these days. But over yesterday and today, I've given it some thought, re-evaluated my life a bit.
Successfully?
I don't know yet. It's too early to draw conclusions. Apparently she was still upset because she was talking a lot less than usual. So, oh, what's your day?
As usual. My days always go as usual, never go.
Perhaps I didn't ask enough about Himitsu's life, or more precisely about the part that was related to me. But how could she blame me if it was always as usual for her? So nothing new at all.
Well, Saya-chan told me you were rude to her yesterday.
Yeah, but she started it or something. I guess she didn't notice the industrial timber complex in her own eyes. Himitsu smiled.
But this time she wasn't swearing about you that much. So you can be proud of yourself.
What an achievement.
If you would pay more attention to other people.
What do I care about your Saya?
You should treat others like you want to be treated yourself. You treat everyone terribly.
Well, I treat you okay.
That's what you think.
Himitsu said quietly. What? Well, sorry. I had to admit her words stung. Still didn't care what this Saya-chan and the rest like her thought of me. I even knew perfectly well that I acted like a pig to Himitsu. But when she said it herself, I recall that in his applied psychology again. Psychoanalysis is, at its core, the process of structuring thoughts, sorting through them so that each has its own place. By throwing all your stuff into one big box for years, then trying to find something you need in a couple of minutes. What are you guys preparing for the school festival? I tried to change the topic rather awkwardly.
I've already told you. A cafe.
I immediately want to see Himitsu in a maid uniform, though I didn't want to say it. I'm just sure the food will be delicious. If you're in charge of cooking, then definitely.
Other girls can cook too.
Definitely not as well as you.
You'll try it when you come by.
I definitely will. By the way, let me handle the dishes.
Oh, that's not too much effort for you.
Get fucked, Nikolai. We'll just have to wait and see. It's interesting how something as ordinary as a kitchen sink can be so dissimilar in each individual house. Literally in its every aspect, the tap and the handles, the location of the drain, the sponges and the racks. The pressure was remarkably strong. And the water didn't splash all over the kitchen like at my place. Well, you can't underestimate how well thought out modern houses are. Did we go out somewhere? I still felt guilty because of what happened yesterday, and a few words weren't going to change that. I needed something more substantive.
Oh, where?
Himitsu asked. He already turned on the TV and was watching a soap opera. We could just walk around or go to the cinema. Do you want to watch a movie?
I don't know.
He said, not expressing much interest.
What's the movie about?
Some sort of science fiction, I guess.
Is it scary?
Himitsu didn't like the horror films. I have to admit it, I shared the sentiments, though for different reasons. Well, we can watch it and see if it is. We turned the TV down and after a few seconds said merrily,
Choose.
On the other hand, I wanted to watch a new movie, but on the other, I knew... What? On the one hand, I wanted to watch a new movie, but on the other, I knew what happens with Himitsu in the cinema when some sort of paper mache monster appears on screen. A simple walk wasn't that dangerous, but of course, it wasn't that entertaining either. Let's go to the movies. More like a date. It's expected to be silent during the movie, and I wasn't in the mood to talk to her. I had no problems with being attentive and spending time together, but I couldn't get Catherine's morning visit out of my mind. It felt like she came for the sake of decency, rather than out of any worry for me. Like if a mother who sends her child to apologize before the kid the child has stolen a toy from at the playground. Responsibility, servitude, obligation. Catherine was trying hard to show that she was doing all this because she had to rather than wanted to. And that indeed was only raising new questions. Why would she need to prove her innocence so desperately? After all, an uneasy conscience betrays itself.
Nickel-kun.
We should go to the cinema.
Well, if it's a horror movie, it's on you.
Maybe I should have chosen the... Can I... If I do this? I can! No, okay. I'm not changing it.
If it's a horror movie, it's on you.
Okay. Have to live with my choice. All the showings of the film I wanted to watch were in the evening, so we had to go for a sub-melodrama that almost made me fall asleep. Mitsu, on the contrary, obviously liked it a lot, since in the middle of the film she started sobbing louder and louder, and by the final was crying her eyes out. I'm glad it was something she liked then. That's a good thing. The movie was great. It's a pity
The movie was great. It's a pity real life isn't like that at all.
We walked out the cinema and bought 2 ice cream cones, vanilla for me and strawberry for Himitsu. Why, brain cancer is a common issue these days. The protagonist falls in love with a girl unaware that she's gravely ill and only has a month left to live. Hardly gets more banal than that.
You ruined it again. You'd make a bad writer.
The writer needs to like logic.
The writer needs to have empathy.
Stop grumbling. Why should I feel sympathetic over some clearly contrived story? Especially considering the 30-year-old high schoolers.
That's not true. She's only 25.
Himitsu frowned and bit her ice cream with near hatred.
What's good about your science fiction books? It's where there's lack of logic. Nothing's real.
They're just metaphors. I tried to come up with an excuse, but Himitsu continued.
You would definitely like the movie if it was happening on another planet. Or say, if there was a breakup instead of a disease, he would break up with him and fly to the other end of the galaxy while she would freeze himself to wait for her.
The conversation was getting dangerous. That's a wonderful story. You should write it down. However, laughing it off didn't work.
I haven't come up with an ending yet.
Himitsu responded angrily, a bit out of a huge chunk of ice cream again. This time it didn't go well.
Ouch.
She rolled her eyes and started jumping in place. Trying to freeze yourself like in your novel? I asked her sympathetically and took the cone out of her hand.
It's always like that when you...
Himitsu grumbled and, having come to her senses, walked quickly onwards. How did she always manage to guess what I was thinking about so accurately? I wasn't enjoying these allusions to Catherine at all. Wait, I wasn't enjoying... Oh. If Himitsu were to continue with this train of thought, she would come to the absolutely absurd conclusion, get dramatic, find culprits, and pass judgment on them. And all of that would happen based on emotions and feelings alone, with no consideration given to reality. Maybe it was very woman-like. Maybe it was just very childish. But I had what I had and had to live with it somehow. I just followed Himitsu, and in 10 minutes we arrived at a park.
It's so beautiful here. Nickel-kun, why do we come to this place so rarely?
Yeah, not quite often. I smirked, but it's... Wait. Why do we come to this place so rarely? No, yeah, not quite often. What? I smirked, but it sounded somewhat unnatural. Not that she was paying attention. Until now, I had only come here with Catherine. I wondered if Himitsu knew that. However, the fresh air did me good. The desire to make nasty jokes disappeared without a trace. You know, this really is a nice place.
There you go.
She smiled viciously and took me by the hand. What would Catherine think if she saw us? Would she be jealous? Sorry I got so drunk yesterday.
Oh well, bygones. What matters is making the right conclusions.
But the part about me making a bad writer was upsetting.
I didn't mean it.
I'll give you a sarcasm play card. Placket. To be honest, subtle humor wasn't Himitsu's forte.
You keep joking, Nickel-kun, but time flies by.
Flies where?
Here, soon we'll need to enroll in college.
Of course, she knew that I wasn't going to continue studying, but continued to ignore that fact as if she had decided everything for me already. We've discussed this so many times already.
Yes, and nothing changes.
I'll need to live on something after school. My parents' money isn't endless, you know.
You can always find a part-time job or...
He grew embarrassed and stopped talking. In the life philosophy of Himitsu, an idea was a basic unit of organization. It couldn't be divided into parts and didn't obey the laws of the macro world. One has to get university education was an idea, while the hows and whys were completely irrelevant. Easy for you to say. I snapped at her, recalling that Catherine and I had more or less the same conversation in more or less the same place. Maybe I'd like to, except, well, I don't know. I still need to live to that moment, and right now I'm having some difficulties with that too.
Neko-kun.
Himitsu lowered her head and gripped my hand tighter. I started to feel a bit uncomfortable. We're just trying so hard to pretend nothing has changed. I guess I was the one mostly responsible for that. I was trying too hard to not involve Himitsu in my problems. Never mind, forget it.
Neko-kun.
What? I snapped. You're not helping at all. Only lamenting like an old woman. Oh no. An old couple was looking at us with clear interest, even a little unceremoniously. Perhaps because we were speaking Russian. What are you staring at? I barked at them in Japanese. The oldies immediately started looking around the park, fearful as if searching for a policeman.
Neko-kun, have you gone completely mad?
Mitsu hissed at me, quickly bowed, apologized, and dragged me away. We walked out into the city where I was immediately received my deserved reprimand.
You can't behave like that. I don't even have the words.
Alright, sorry. I really did feel guilty. However, guilty to Himitsu rather than a couple of old strangers.
It's all because of your drinking. You completely lost yourself.
I had zero desire to listen to this, but after what I've done, interrupting her wasn't an option. Let's go home, I said, avoiding her eyes. We spent almost the entire walk back in silence. I was thinking that I would have felt if Himitsu hadn't been around at that moment. What I would have felt if Himitsu... Oh, I'm a retard. Maybe nothing. Maybe I would have also told them to fuck off. When we arrived, I stopped and said, "Alright, I'll see you tomorrow then."
Yeah, bye.
Himitsu replied briefly and left. Left too quickly, as if she were upset with me. Apparently, I wasn't going to get dinner tonight. However, that seemed to be at the least of my problems. For a normal person, it would have been evening already, but I'd only woken up at 1 o'clock, so it was still full of energy. My hangover had long retreated, allowing me to come to my senses and start thinking constructively. And Catherine was doing pretty much everything she could to kill my love for her. She was quite successful at it, I had to say. On the other hand, you can instantly destroy what took years to emerge and grow stronger. A phone rang in the hall. It sounded dull and somehow phlegmatic. Hello. Hey Nick, are you busy? Michael's voice sounded calm and even as always, even pacifying to a degree. No, I just came back. Been walking around with Himitsu. Alright, I have something to talk about. Eye to eye. Can't we discuss it over the phone? Why the secrecy? No. He answered briefly and started to worry. And I started to worry. Secrecy meant a lot to me now. I assume it can't wait till tomorrow? No. I see. When and where? In the city center. In an hour. Okay, see you. I hung up and let out a sigh. I'd just come back and only managed to take my shoes off. Okay, I guess. Michael was punctual and appeared on time, although I wasn't late either. At first I wanted to warn Himitsu, but then figured that since I wasn't meeting with Catherine, Ichinosu, or anyone else, it would make her concerned. I had nothing to worry about. As for Michael, whatever the subject of the discussion would be, there was no reason to expect anything dangerous from him. Well, hi. Why the urgency? Let's find somewhere quiet first. You sound like a real spy today. Michael didn't react to my joke, however, which was to be expected. But I started to feel even more off. He led me to the park. Wasn't I coming here a little much these days? So drop the suspense. We sat on a bench far from the main entrance. Do you remember our conversation on Monday about my father's work in Kobayashi Corporation? I do. Why? After all, I hadn't told him anything specific. Well, I couldn't get it out of my head, so I talked to my father. And? We may have to leave Tokyo, or even Japan altogether. He sighed and frowned, which for Michael could be described as an emotional storm. Something is happening, Nick. Something serious. I think you might be in danger. Come on, who am I to? And this danger might be coming from Kobayashi Corporation. You asked about them yourself. I couldn't play the fool around Michael. He was too astute for that. So I stopped smiling idiotically and looked away, staring in the dark silhouettes of the tree of the pond. Oh, gotta take something to drink. 2 seconds. Nice. Oh, shit. What exactly do you mean? Nothing in particular, but my father was worried, and that doesn't happen often. Well, yeah, like father, like son. Even if there was something, it's fine now. If I were to believe Catherine. If I were you, I wouldn't just neglect. I'm telling you, it's alright. I ground my teeth, but continued in a lower voice. Thank you for caring. The spirit of contradiction seemed to be strong in me. After all this madness I experienced in the last couple of weeks, I finally managed to fix my relationship with Himitsu, handled the situation with Catherine to some extent, and nobody was following me anymore, at least not openly. And now it was going to start all over again? And who was informing me about this? Michael? It felt as if a Christmas deer had brought me some news on its horns. Well, I just wanted to warn you. That's all I can do. Are you sure you're going to leave? I don't know yet. When will you know then? I can't say that either. This sounds like riddles and assumptions. Not enough to panic over, don't you think? Who's panicking? Due diligence never hurt anyone. What do you mean by due diligence? What should I do to be diligent? Buy a gun? I smirked. You can't hardly do that here. But if we were in the US, I'd say it might be a good idea. Is it really that bad? Jokes like this weren't in Michael's character, and he seemed serious. I hope not. Either way, I couldn't tell him about my situation. Not because he would tell his father, but because the fewer people were involved, the better. Okay, don't take it so seriously. Who are we? Just students. We're irrelevant. Maybe you're right. Michael responded after some time and stood up. It's late. Will you come to school tomorrow? I will. On my way back, I was constantly looking around and even chose a longer route to confuse my potential stalkers. However, it seemed like they were neither not following me or following me too well. Of course, I couldn't get Michael's words out of my head, but it felt as if I'd been sedated. My own problems seemed distant, as if they belonged in to a total stranger. Okay? Sometimes it can be almost impossible to break out of a negative perception of things and see the good aspects and positive changes in life. Or sometimes the overwhelming wave of positivity doesn't let you think straight and see what things aren't, that things aren't all so rosy, and what the enemy literally hides around the corner. I was walking down on the streets of the Japanese capital and breathing rich autumn air. Every season had its own outstanding smell. Summer's green grass, blossoming flowers, gentle sea breeze, soil and asphalt heated by the sun. But autumn brings a long freshness and humidity of frequent rains, dampness of soiled leaf and aroma of ripe apples and rich scent of fermented plums. To me, autumn was the crowning achievement of creation, the final point and pinnacle of the cycle. For a couple of weeks, yet, we could enjoy soft, warm days and fresh, invigorating evenings, the whirlpool of colors of the withering nature and the ripe, juicy fruits. And then the arrow of life soars over midnight to begin a new ascent to the summit through the long winter night. Okay. My big empty house greeted me with the darkness I had already grown a bit unfamiliar with and dead silence. Somewhere deep inside I was hoping that Himitsu would come after all, or at least would make dinner, or even just leave a note. However, I wasn't particularly upset about that. After all, they had gone pretty well today. Neglecting the matter of dinner and feeling almost happy, I went to bed and quickly fell asleep. Okay. Damn. The 18th of September, 1987. It's 1st of September today, 2022. The early bird catches the worm. Yet another one of those proverbs I doubted the truthfulness of. For one single reason. Even if I were to catch worms in the morning, it only happened thanks to Himitsu. But today, I woke up early. It seemed I was forming a habit. My stomach was growling. I was hungrier than ever. Himitsu almost always make breakfast for me. But have I ever cooked for her? Sure, sometimes I'd wake up early and want to eat. But like this, deliberately and purposefully. After tidying up myself, I headed to the stove. Yeah, stove. I almost read it at store. I wondered if an English breakfast would be a good choice. It seemed to have all the necessary ingredients. Eggs, bread, even bacon. I thought that was supposed to be something else. Corn, tomato, or beans. Yeah, both. I think it's beans and sausage. Well, it wasn't that important. I still had zucchimono from yesterday, and that could fill in for other vegetables. I cast a glance at the clock. Himitsu would arrive soon. The eggs sizzled happily in the pan. The yolks like little suns. I choked on my spit. Holy shit. The day seemed bright and fair. Oh my fucking god. Pooha. Sorry about that. The day seemed bright and fair. I opened the garden door wide, letting fresh air in. I heard the sound of keys cling in the hall, and soon Himitsu entered the kitchen.
Nika-kun,
She asked, genuinely surprised.
you're already up.
Yes, and I'm almost done with our breakfast. Take a seat. I pulled up a chair and invited her to sit down.
This is so unexpected.
Better late than ever.
You didn't have to.
It sounds like you're unhappy about this. He waved her hands and smiled.
No, I'm very happy. It's really tasty.
Mitsu tried the eggs. Of course she was exaggerating, but even I couldn't ruin such a basic dish.
And for the dessert?
She grabbed some tsukemono with her chopsticks. Thanks for that. By the way, they really helped me yesterday.
Glad to hear it, but prevention is the best medicine.
So you're suggesting I drink alcohol regularly to develop an immunity?
Nika-kun,
She pouted. Easy, that was a joke.
from now on, you're going to make breakfast for me every morning.
You wish. She laughed sincerely and very cutely. I noticed that I was staring at her too openly.
Fine, but you can do something else.
Like what?
Clean up,
You wish. I draw.
or at least not make such a mess.
I shall consider your proposition.
You'll be so kind.
Himitsu took my empty plate, but I stopped her. Let me do it.
I'll cut you some slack. You're already put in too much effort for today.
Well, hypothetically, if I'm going to cook, what will I get in return?
We shall see.
He smiled slyly.
What would you want?
I could only think of one thing that was about to say it out loud when Himitsu accidentally walked into a bag lying on the floor, dropping the plate, which fell and broke into pieces. They say that glass breaks for happiness.
I haven't heard that before.
It's true, but it's better not to go overboard. I will have nothing to eat from.
Nika-kun, it's all because your house.
He kicked the bag up half a meter into the air.
It's a total mess.
We were taking our usual route to school that we had walked hundreds or even thousands of times before. And particularly today it seemed the same as it had been a year ago. Same as always. Catherine's return to KGB and Kobayashi Corporation, would it be the same now or 10 years from now? What would happen to us in 10 years? If before I had never considered it, now I could quite seriously imagine a life together with Himitsu.
Move to Nika-kun.
Copy.
What were you daydreaming about?
About you?
What do you mean about me?
Yes, puzzled. I've decided that I could eat you borged for a while longer, unless I get tired of it.
Nico-kun,
Mitsu grew embarrassed and turned away.
you're always joking.
I think I'm pretty good at it. Maybe I should be a comedian. Just not a professional clown, I hoped. In the worst sense of the word.
Are you sure you're gonna be straight alright at school?
She suddenly changed the subject. Yeah, why wouldn't I be?
Well, you haven't been there for a few days now. You don't even know what homework they've been giving.
Not that I did homework even when I got it. Oh, come up with something. Not that any of the teachers would be actually interested. Of course, they could expel me, but since I had achieved my bare minimums in terms of attendance and my grades weren't even the worst, it wouldn't be that easy. Besides, this was a private school, meaning that it was sponsored by students' parents. You know, I'm lazy, not stupid.
Well, sometimes I forget that. Looking at you.
Epic burn. We came across Himitsu's classmates who greeted her, then crossed to the other side of the road, whispering enthusiastically and occasionally casting meaningful glances over to us. What's the matter with them?
Nothing serious.
She said, not showing much interest. Who are you, and where is my Himitsu? I grabbed her by the shoulders and lightly shook her back and forth. Where had her shyness and embarrassment gone?
Nico-kun, stop it!
They're discussing you over there, and you seem to not care at all.
Well, I guess I just don't anymore.
We were approaching the school. You want to have lunch together?
You made lunch as well?
No way. You can't expect that much of me yet.
So you're counting on my bento, aren't you?
Can't I? She seemed to think a moment.
I guess you can today.
See you later then.
Don't sleep during class.
The first person I noticed when I walked into the classroom was Michael. He tore himself away from one of his ever-present books and gave me a slight nod. It's not like I hadn't respected him before, but after what he had done yesterday, that respect grew a little greater.
So, did you have a good rest?
Yosuke asked snittily once I sat behind my desk. I did, I feel great.
Yeah. If only everyone could have such a carefree attitude towards life.
Doesn't seem hard to me.
Yeah, when you don't give a damn about anything.
I couldn't understand if Yosuke was being serious or joking. Since when have you become a moralist?
You know, it doesn't feel great to sit here for half a day and spend another half a day doing homework while somebody is having fun.
You say that as if someone's making you do it all.
Of course they are.
Oh, come on. I grinned. I feel so bad for Kyosuke. Catherine appeared right before the bell and quickly sat behind her desk, paying no attention to me. I said nothing. There was no reason to start a conversation. Classes went as usual, boring and routine. I always found it easier to extract information from books instead of forcing myself to listen to someone. In fact, I'd say schools care more about grades than how useful or practical the knowledge they teach their student is. Because grades are the only measure of the quality of education at the moment. You can say a kid is talented or has potential as much as you like, but but how can you actually express that potential? Is the kid at 7 out of 10 on a talent of scale? We had managed to split the atom and start building spaceship, but it seems to me sometimes that the social sciences lag further and further behind the technological one. Perhaps in the future teachers would be replaced with soulless robot, precise, faultless, and emotionless. Just like production lines had replaced menial workers. Wouldn't that lead to a future where scholastic production lines produced identical parts for society, parts with no feelings, passion, ambition, creativity, compassion, or morals? Probably. During break, Katya quickly walked out of the classroom, and I headed for lunch with Himitsu. We sat down in the yard on our favorite bench.
My classmates asked me to go to karaoke.
Karaoke? Sure, go. Might be a good idea.
Don't you want to go with me?
Me? Usually she didn't invite me to those events, and didn't often go herself either.
Is something wrong?
Nothing, just, will Saya-chan be there?
I guess so.
Himitsu smiled. Aren't you afraid that we might have a fight?
I hope you won't start bullying girls.
Then we're on an equal ground. She can bully me.
Nobody's bullying you, Nickel-kun.
Alright, if you say so. I was walking back to a classroom and thinking about Catherine. I wondered what she felt about these new circumstances. The excitement of the first few days had faded, and we all knew we needed to get on with our lives. First, there were emotions, demands, rejections of any compromise, and the inability to think about consequence. And then came the realization that life went on and everything remained the same. We shouted at each other, broke some dishes, then sat down to have dinner in the 5 square meters kitchen of a Soviet Khrushchev era apartment, as we had nowhere else to go. It was quite a crude analogy for Japan, but Catherine and I had to, if not in the same kitchen, at least spend time in the same school. Something struck at my chest from inside. I realized I'd never thought about what would come next, what I would do and feel if everything remained the same. Classes finally ended and I ran out of classroom in anticipation of karaoke. My singing abilities left much to be desired, but at least it would be a change of scenery. Outside I met with an unexpected twist, Kagome, standing at my locker. How did she manage to get there faster than me?
We need to talk.
I'm in a hurry, actually.
It's important. It's important.
So what do you want to talk about?
Not here.
I figured I still had some time. Besides, I was interested in what Kagome wanted to talk about. Lead the way. We went to the roof. You could set up an office here. I smirked, but Kagome got to the point immediately.
What's going on?
What are you talking about?
Stop pretending. I know everything.
Know what? This tone right off the bat meant it was something serious, at least for her.
I know that you're connected to Kobayashi's corporation.
Me? The fuck are you talking about? I haven't even graduated yet. Kagome clearly wasn't a corporation agent, and she didn't look like she was with the KGB either, but the words sent a shiver down my spine. It took considerably effort to remain outwardly calm.
Or your parents were.
What's your words? It really wasn't very polite of her, but I shouted so loudly Kagome shuddered and shrunk back. My parents are dead.
I'm sorry, but that doesn't change anything.
Doesn't change what? Yes. They work for Kobayashi Corporation, so what? Tens of thousands of people do.
No, it's not that simple.
What isn't that simple? I raised my voice again.
Stop pretending.
Look, Ivamura, are you alright in the head? Kagome frowned but kept sticking to her guns.
You're lying. It's written on your face.
The only thing written on my face is that I don't understand a thing you're talking about. Forced.
Maybe you really don't know anything, and this conversation is over.
Hey! I called after her. Of course, Ivamura was a weird girl, but to hear about my parents and Kobayashi Corporation from her, I could have stopped her and interrogated her about everything, but I felt it'd be too much. After all, we were at school. She'd scream, and then what? They would definitely believe her over me, whatever she came up with. Rapist, be my guest. Serial killer, no problem. Most teachers probably wouldn't even be surprised. Maybe Kagome knew something or was involved somehow. But she clearly didn't pose any threat herself. Besides, Himitsu was waiting for me. It was surprising how, for the past couple of days, thinking about her caused all my other problems to fade into the background. Damn, what the fuck's up with Kagome? At first, karaoke felt pretty awkward and even tense. I had no issues with Himitsu's other classmate. At least I thought so. But Saya-chan? At first, she wouldn't even look at me. But an enclosed space can work miracles. You either need to kill your enemy or learn to coexist with them. So after a couple of songs, she seemed to come to peace with my presence. I didn't have much fun though. I could only think about Kakume's words. What did I know about her? Well, absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, she knew about my parents, about Kobayashi Corporation. Perhaps she was also a victim. This conclusion sounded more logical than any other, so I decided to stick to it and ask her about it openly at first opportunity. When we left karaoke, it was already evening.
Time passed so quickly. You can sit down. Then.
I was walking with us, while the others went into another direction. Do you also live nearby?
No, I'm going to the station.
Alright, it's on the way. I felt a bit awkward around her. After all, my past behavior wasn't exactly up to Japanese standards. But Saya, in turn, wasn't displaying any open hostility towards me. Maybe because Himitsu was around. Singing isn't my thing, after all. If only I had my bass.
I couldn't agree with you there, Anuki-san.
About the bass?
About your singing.
Well, it's not like you exactly have the greatest voice.
Never claimed to.
Enough.
Enough, both of you.
Mitchell laughed. Look who's talking. Your singing is pretty alright.
I'm not even sure whether that was a compliment or an insult. From Nikko-kun, it's a compliment.
Some girls did indeed sing better than her, but compared to Saya and me, Himitsu sounded like a prima donna. Well, to each their own.
Can you really play the bass?
Are you really interested?
Is he any good?
He turned to Himitsu.
Well,
Say it like it is already.
I don't know much about music.
Fuck.
That's exactly.
She didn't say I'm bad.
You didn't say you're good at eating.
So am I bad at it or not? Don't be afraid to upset me.
Yeah, tell the truth. Come on, guys.
Himitsu begged. Soon we approached the station and bid farewell to Saya.
Nikko-kun.
Himitsu grabbed me by the hand. Towards the sunset.
Like when we were little.
And smiled. I didn't say anything, just squeezed her little hand in mine. At the same second, I found myself feeling good, even somehow peaceful. Maybe I hadn't sorted myself out fully, but at this moment I wanted to be right there, with her. To some extent, I owed a debt of gratitude to Catherine, the KGB, and even Kobayashi Corporation for that. But no, not the corporation.
Today has been perfect.
Himitsu finally broke the silence. Yeah, it's been nice.
I wish we could always have days like this.
I sighed.
What's the matter, Nikko-kun?
I was thinking that we used to have a lot of days like this. We just never paid them much attention.
But we never gone to karaoke with people.
It's not about karaoke. There's even a proverb.
Enough of your proverbs.
Anyway, it's true. We need to cherish the moment since we can never know what tomorrow will bring, especially in my case. Mitchell lowered her head.
I mean, in terms of your circumstances?
Yeah, of course.
Has anything new happened?
No. It was too soon to tell her about my conversation with Kakume. Nothing about her was clear.
Do you still think we're going to be alright?
We've been alright so far, which means we've been acting as we should.
But if something happens, will you tell me?
Of course.
No, promise me.
Dimitri exclaimed then anxiously. I promise.
There we go. And don't forget about it. To help you, I need to know everything that happens with you.
So I'll provide daily reports for you to sign every evening.
Sounds like a great idea.
Speaking of the evening, today went way too quickly, don't you think?
Oh, although, yeah, maybe.
There's a film I wanted to watch on TV.
Oh, Nikko-kun, I'm sorry, I completely forgot. Tomorrow my father and I are leaving to visit my grandma for the weekend, so tonight I need to pack everything.
For the whole weekend?
Yes.
He replied sadly. So all Saturday and Sunday?
Yes.
When are you coming back?
Monday morning.
I see. The thought that Himitsu would leave for 2 entire days made me feel off. Even though she used to spend the entire summer at her grandma's while I was melting in stuffy Tokyo. Well, I'd gone with her a couple of times, but only for a week. I didn't even know why. Maybe because of some mysterious Japanese tradition or something. Well, okay, bring me back some fruits then.
I'll bring a full basket.
Sorry? Also, I wouldn't mind a couple of her Nikomans. What the fuck is Nikomans? Let me see. What is a Nikoman? Nikoman. Oh, it's those steamed pork bunch. That seems delicious. I want that right now. Now, make it for me. You, viewer, make it for me. Right now. I won't allow it. No. You do it now. Okay, I'm joking. Calm down.
I'll ask her to make some just for you.
Alright, then I don't feel bad about you leaving.
What are you going to do?
Nothing, I guess. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, you can do your homework. It never hurts to improve your grades.
I'll think about it, I replied in a serious tone. We approached the house and Mitchell looked cautiously around and kissed me on the lips. Ooh. 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 It was so sudden that I didn't immediately realize what happened. And only when she was a few meters away did I feel blood rushing to my face. Like an 8th grader, damn it. Mitchell's boldness was even more surprising.
See you on Monday.
See you. I walked into the yard and saw Kagome sitting on the porch. It's you again, I exclaimed, and immediately turned around. Luckily, Himitsu had already gone home.
We haven't finished.
I'd say we never even started, and I don't have any desire to change that. I tried to enter my house, but Kagome stood stubbornly in the way.
I'll tell you everything, but you have to hear me out first.
Everything being...
Everything about your parents.
I hesitated for a while, glancing around and listening to my surroundings. If this was some plot, the point of it was beyond my understanding. How did you find out where I live?
You think it's that difficult?
He smirked. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
The school has files on everyone, and I'm a class rep, meaning I'm a regular visitor to the teacher's room.
Is that even legal? I think I'll report you to Kiyama-sensei.
You can report me to the Pope if you want. Just hear me out first.
Well, fine. Come in then. I opened the door and invited her to enter. Kagome hesitated a moment, then stepped inside. Do you want something to drink? Tea? Sorry, I don't have coffee.
Do you live all alone in a house this big?
He completely ignored my hospitality. As you can see.
That's not very cost efficient.
So what did you want to talk about? I sat opposite her and looked at her intently.
My father used to work at Kobayashi Corporation. In fact, he used to work on the same project as your parents. This project is classified, and I don't really know anything about it. But then they fired him, and my father had to help my grandfather at a restaurant. Such rank ingratitude for such a talented scientist.
Kagome said viciously. The details of our family's situation didn't interest me much. What then?
A few days ago, he was kidnapped by the corporation's people.
Why are you so positive they were the corporation's people?
Muscled men in black suits barged into the restaurant in the middle of the day and took my father away. Who else could they be?
Did you have any business trouble? Maybe that's...
No.
That got Kagome worked up immediately.
A restaurant might be small, but we do honest business.
Honestly, honesty is irrelevant in this case. You can be as holy as a hermit and have millions of dollars in debt. He gave me a dreadful look.
What do you know?
Hey, this isn't about me at all.
We're doing alright, or at least not badly.
Kagome finally answered my question probably. Did you try the police?
Yes, but they just politely waved me away. Isn't it obvious that they even have the police in their pocket?
Maybe, but sorry, I still don't understand. What does your story have to do with me or my parents?
We all used to work on this project together. Maybe they were killed because of it.
I didn't need Ivamura to tell me that, but I decided to keep my mouth shut. It was all very weird, sure. But on the other hand, even the secret project had to have had more than 2 people working on it. My parents, Kagome's father, Ichinose, however many more. Maybe the corporation was just trying to eliminate everyone involved. They weren't killed, they died in a car accident. I said uncertainly.
Do you really believe that?
I'd like to help, but you know my parents are already dead.
But you know nothing.
What could I know? I grinned verily. Besides, what else do you know except what you've told me already? Kagome bit her lip and clicked her tongue annoyed.
I don't believe in coincidences.
I don't think it matters what you believe.
Nobody from the corporation came for you? Never asked you anything?
What about you?
Don't just repeat the question.
Nobody from the corporation.
So, I'm somewhere else?
For a moment I even wanted to tell her everything. Maybe just to have another ally. However, thinking about it rationally, I had to admit Kagome wouldn't make a good one. He was too unstable. Not that I knew her that well. No.
Something tells me you're hiding something.
As people in my country say, when something occurs to you too often, you should crush yourself. Do you really think I'd joke with something that might be related to my parents' death? Would you joke about your father being kidnapped?
No, of course not. Sorry.
He grew embarrassed and looked away. It's fine, I just really can't tell you anything else. By the way, how do you know my parents?
My father's friend told me everything.
Did this friend also work on the project? Ivamura might be useful after all.
No, I don't know. He's in danger too, so he didn't tell me much.
By the way, the FUD had been nagging me at me for a while already. What's your father's name?
Akira Shinji. Why?
Isn't that Akira Shinji? Pretty common name. It's nothing. I just wanted to know since he knew my parents.
Does the name mean anything to you?
Nothing at all. Of course it did. It was the person Ichinosa had mentioned to me. Yeah, it literally was. Ichinosa did say he got fucking... Oh my fucking god. Oh shit. I was thinking about it, but I was like, nah, but... Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. What the shit? I was supposed to go talk to him? Oh my god, what the... Okay. Guess he knew a lot more than... Okay. Fuck. But no matter how entertaining or curious this was, I haven't learned anything new in the end. Well, yeah, he used to work on this project. Yeah, he was kidnapped. So what? Ichinosa had said he was probably killed already. I looked at Kagume's tense face and couldn't find the courage to tell her that. Not just out of concern for her own safety, but also because I couldn't destroy the last hope she had. I'm sure your father will turn up.
How can you possibly be sure about that?
I just wanted to cheer you up. Happy now. Kagome stood up.
The best thing you could do would be to give me information. But if you learn anything, let me know right away. Got it?
Got it. Yep, I'm not the only one involved in this. This is scary shit. They are doing the big cleanup, motherfuckers. I saw her to the gate and returned to the kitchen. I've learned so much about my parents' life and death recently. As hard as it was to acknowledge, it seemed I hadn't known them at all. At least I hadn't known the truth about their job. According to Catherine, they were suspected of espionage, weren't they? No, I couldn't believe that. I clearly remember how we left the USSR, even if I had been only a child. When you're 7 years, it's difficult to comprehend what adults feel and think, even to interpret the facial expressions, but a little person always has some sort of intuition. He or she just knows when something isn't right. And I did. My cold dinner made from leftovers found in the fridge seemed even more tasteless eaten alone. Something hurt in my chest and I shivered as if cold, although it was pretty warm inside. The reason was obvious to me. I was used to Himitsu's always being around, and now I could feel how much I missed her. I get that. You know what? It's the 19th of September, 1986. I think it's time to say thanks for watching this episode, my gamers. Remember to like, subscribe, watch my other videos on the channel. It's been really nice making this episode for you. Leave a comment telling me what you think. Why this shit is getting pretty intense and serious. And I'll see you next time. Bye.